How are you? Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Senator McCain has graciously asked me to begin, and I'll try to return his kindness by speaking briefly. We have had a very good visit to Israel. This follows stops we made earlier in the week in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. I'm proud to be here with Senator McCain and my colleague, Senator John Thune of South Dakota and Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. This group of four of us, I think, represents the broad, nonpartisan support for the security of Israel and a strong U.S.-Israel relationship, which, of course, we don't see as inconsistent to also supporting the aspirations of the Palestinian people. I will say that part of what we've found here is a picture that has two distinct images. The first is that on the ground, both in Israel and the Palestinian Authority, life is better for most people. In Israel, for instance, as Minister of Defense Barak said to us earlier today, there has not been a suicide bombing during 2009. That security is better. In the Palestinian Authority areas, the economy is growing and security is better there as well. And of course, that's very constructive and encouraging. I know there's concern about the status of the peace process between Israel and the Palestinians. I would say simply that the best thing that could happen is that both sides, without a lot of argument or precondition, get back to the table and start talking to one another. And that will test the will, the intention, the desire of each side to reach an accommodation that will serve the interests and values of both peoples. We had extensive conversation both in Israel and in our conversations with Prime Minister Fayyad and in our visits earlier this week to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan about the threat that the extremist repressive regime in Iran represents to the entire region. Senator McCain will have more to say about that. I just want to say briefly, as a co-sponsor of a bipartisan bill in the Senate of the United States, which would authorize the President of the United States to apply broad sanctions, including an attempt to stop refined petroleum product, gasoline, from going into Iran unless they stop the development of their nuclear weapons program, and also related to their repression of the human rights and desire for democracy of the people of Iran. I'm hopeful that that legislation will come up in the Senate when we go back into session next week. It is sponsored by more than 3/4 of the members of the United States Senate, and therefore I expect strong legislation to be adopted and hope that it will be enacted soon and signed by the President, and that he will apply those sanctions to Iran as soon as possible. I'm honored now to introduce my dear friend and colleague, and really the leader of this delegation, Senator John McCain.
I'm very pleased to be back in the state of Israel and help reaffirm my constituents and the American people's support of the freedom and independence of the state of Israel. As an observer of attempts at peace here in this issue between Israel and the Palestinians, I have come to the conclusion that the Prime Minister in the state of Israel is right. It's time to sit down without preconditions and begin serious negotiations to bring about a lasting and permanent peace. On the issue of Iran, there is no doubt that the people of Iran have risen up and want a freedom from and a rejection of the extremist Muslim clerics who rule that country. One of the many ways that the United States can be of assistance is to help the Iranian people to communicate with one another, such as making every effort to help prevent the Iranian government from blocking the internet, from helping them communicate with one another, to providing them with the means to organize. That does not mean military intervention. but it does mean speaking up every single day for the people of Iran and their struggle for freedom and democracy. The day a young woman named Netta bled to death in the streets of Tehran was the beginning of the end of the tyrannical regime in Iran, which threatens peace in the world, the region, and specifically to the State of Israel with their continued unabated development of nuclear weapons.
Senator Thune.
Thank you. It's great to be back in the State of Israel, and I serve on the Armed Services Committee with Senator McCain and Senator Lieberman. Very proud to work with them on these important national security issues. And we are, as has already been stated, very, very committed to the security and to the freedom of Israel. The United States doesn't have a better friend than the State of Israel. And we will work very hard to make sure that the Iran Sanctions Act does get passed, gets voted on and hopefully passed, and then ultimately implemented by the President when we get back into Congress. And there aren't many issues in the Congress these days in which enjoy broad bipartisan support. We seem to fight about most issues, at least when it comes to domestic policy. But the one issue on which there is broad bipartisan support is with respect to Israel and our relationship. And so I'm proud to be here and to be able to meet with your leaders and to talk about the issues that are important. We agree and share the concern that Israel has that a nuclear Iran is a game changer and is something that cannot be abided by our countries.
Thanks, John. Senator Barrasso.
I'm John Barrasso from the state of Wyoming. It is wonderful to be back into the state of Israel. Again, this is my third time here in the last 13 months. We've had very productive meetings today and along the entire extent of our trip. I continue to be a strong supporter of Israel. And with regard to the legislation that is in the Senate, I am one of the co-sponsors. As we have traveled and visited with leaders around this part of the globe, we've asked questions about what is happening now in Iran. And while some call it simmering, others call it ready to boil, I think anything that we can do to turn up the heat to bring the day closer when the regime in Iran is turned over and the people in the streets are given the freedom, the better it will be for all of mankind.
Thanks, John.